Давай. Сначала, не сначала. Удачи.
You're not on the same network. You're not on the same line as me.
Oh, you know, maybe they cut you off.
No, the Wi-Fi just doesn't work.
No, no, it's
I was just curious. I thought maybe
it's working.
you would be offline as well.
Он мягенько так идет. Влево даст больше раз. Сейчас. Тем более я стою правее.
Arrows? Anybody?
Lucas is working.
Hold on again. Oh, you're good. We'll come back and we'll ask anyone to get
All right, good morning from the 50th QubicaAMF Bowling World Cup here on Bowl TV. Getting started with our round of 8 match play. Our opening matches. We've got, obviously you can see one women's match and one men's match each round. We've got Colombia versus Ukraine on the women's side, and on the men's side, Germany versus Ukraine. This is our, once again, our first round of matches. It's round robin match play, so you've got 8 matches. The first 7 matches, all of the bowlers bowl the other bowlers in their event, in their division. And then the final game is a position round game that will set the final standings for the top 3 to advance into the finals this afternoon. A win is worth 30 pins, a tie is worth 15 pins, and a loss is worth 0 here in round robin match play. So it's 1-game matches with bonus pins available. And the top 3 after this 8-game round-robin match play block will advance into the finals this afternoon. All right, so early on, Kovalova has an 11-pin lead on Colombia's Clara Guerrero. And our top seed, or top player after 28 games, Tobias Bording of Germany. Spare double to start, and he is ahead by 22 early on in this match with Misha Kalika of the Ukraine. So we've got 8 games this morning in the round robin, and then we will have the finals scheduled to start at about 1:30 Central European time with the women. Excuse me, and then the men will start right after that, probably around 3:30 is my guess. There's a chance we could start earlier than 1:30 if they bowl fast and we get set up in time. We'll just have to wait and see, but keep an eye on the Bowling World Cup Twitter account at Bowling World Cup, and also on the Bowling World Cup Facebook page. And Helena will let you know when we are going to get started with the live stream this afternoon for sure. So again, it's round robin match play. Wins are worth 30 bonus pins, ties are worth 15, and a loss is worth 0. And at the end of all of this today, we will have the finals for the top 3 men and the top 3 women. Misha with another strike. Already got some strings of strikes going in our men's match. Kovalova with a 10-pin in the 5th. She trails actually pretty even in that one now because Clara had the open in the 1st. So they're pretty neck and neck here. Misha with a big split. Leaves the 3-4-6-7 split. Kind of an awkward leave in the 5th, and he's going to fall a little bit further behind. Clara Guerrero leads by 9 after 5 frames against Daria Kovalova. Open frame for Kalika as he falls further behind here in what may be a tough match to come back against Tobias Bording, who has been just absolutely unstoppable so far this week, averaging better than 240 per game. In fact, his average 241.36, which is almost 10 pins a game higher than the next closest competitor, and he just threw his 5th consecutive strike. Clara Guerrero working on 4 in a row, trying to extend that string, and she does. Clara top of the standings, 222.32 average on the women's side. Do us a favor and tell your friends about the live streaming on this morning here on Bowl TV. You can post the link to bowl.com/bowltv. Bowl.com/bowltv and tell your friends to tune in. Kovalova getting ready to shoot the 3-6-7 here in the 7th frame, and just does miss it for an open frame in the 7th. Clara also with a split, 7-8 in the 7th frame. And a nice conversion by Clara Guerrero in the 7th frame to maintain a big lead on Daria Kovalova. 31 pin lead for Clara with 3 frames to go. Just tuning in, we're in game number 1 of 8 in our round-robin match play. We've got Colombia versus Ukraine in the women's match, Germany versus Ukraine in the men's match. Waiting for a pin to be spotted for Misha to shoot. Looks like they're doing it now. So finally set up with that spare for Kalika. Covers it up, but he's trailing by a wide margin here. They're going to fix the score. So again, the score is wrong on the men's match, so they're going to fix that here in a moment. Ninth frame closing out in our women's match. Clara shooting a single pin spare here. And she nails it. So Clara's max score is 233. Best that Daria Kovalova can shoot is 226. Daria with an 8 count first shot in the 10th just about guarantees that Clara is going to win the game. Daria's max score now is 202. Sorry, 204. And Clara is going to be there without even needing a mark here in the 10th. Assuming she gets good count on the first ball. So 10th frame for Clara, trying to shut out Daria Kovalova and pick up a Game 1 victory, and she does. And Clara Guerrero will take 30 bonus pins here in Game 1 against Daria Kovalova. And Tobias Boarding finally gets to throw that next shot and throws his 7th consecutive strike. I would be really surprised if the German does not advance into the top 3 finals tonight. He has just dominated all week long, and I would be shocked if he doesn't earn the #1 seed here today. Has a pretty hefty lead on the rest of the field coming into this game. Hoarding up by 240 pins on Magnus Jansson of Sweden. And Tobias, obviously can shoot 290 this game and pick up a win. So this could be a real big game for Tobias Boarding. A lot of games left, though. We've got 7 games to go after this one, and with all the bonus pins, people can make up ground in a hurry, especially with the scores being this high. It only takes a game or two under 200 to really hurt you significantly. We saw that yesterday with some of the people who dropped out of the cut, who were in the number going into the day. Just a couple of bad games, and it just snowballed, and they were in big trouble. And some of them missed the cut. Tobias leaves the 2-8 in the 9th. Misha just trying to get all he can here. Came in 8th today, averaging 227.18. But this game only going to shoot 207, so that average is going to go down a little bit. Clara, meanwhile, with 5 on the fill ball for 228. takes the win against the Ukraine's Daria Kovalova, who could only shoot 204 with a strike on her last ball. Men's match just wrapping up here. Game number 1 finishing up in our round robin match play. Clearly a win for Tobias Boarding, as he's going to increase his average for the tournament. As Misha Kalika from the Ukraine steps up, second shot in the 10th, working on a double. Third strike in a row, that'll get him into the 200s. And a couple opens, split opens early, really hurt him. As Boarding strikes, second shot in the 10th, that will get him into the 260s this game.
sind 3 Frames in der Warteposition.
Final shots here of game 1. Maybe a little bit of a delay before we start the next game, not sure. There was one pair having a problem with the monitor down on the low end. Check that out. Once they blow the whistle, we'll know to start the next game. 267-205. Tobias Boarding defeats Misha Kalika here in game 1 to pick up the 30 bonus pin. So we'll be back in just a minute with the start of game number 2. just waiting on one match to finish. They had looked like a problem with the scoring down there, and they're almost done. And then we can get started with game number 2 here in just a moment. So our women's match is going to be Russia versus Sweden on 13 and 14. And I know that B-Boy Rivera from the Philippines is going to be on our men's featured match. And it looks like it's going to be Israel in the other position. All right, game 2 started now with B-Boy Rivera throwing the first shot. Comes up light, leaves the 2-4-5. And again, our round robin match play. Game number 2 of 8 now underway here at the 50th QubicaAMF Bowling World Cup. After these 8 games, the top 3 men and the top 3 women will advance into the finals this afternoon. So we've got Bulanova versus Larson in our women's match, Russia versus Sweden. And Rivera versus Cohen in our men's match, Philippines versus Israel. A couple of single pins to start the women's match. If you can do me a favor, go on to Facebook and Twitter and post the link to bowl.com/bowltv. Let's try to get as many folks watching as we can, as we are in the top 8 round robin match play here this morning at the Sky Bowling Center in Wrocław, Poland. I'm Lucas Wiseman. Thank you so much for joining us here on Bowl TV this morning. Cohen misses the 7-pin. I just got an update on the women's standings, and Lee Jane Sin of Malaysia has moved into the lead. 248 her first game and picked up a win. Clara Juliana Guerrero of Colombia is in second place, and Brittany Hamilton is the cut number right now in third. Maria Bulanova of Russia is fourth, 9 pins behind Brittany. Liza Del Rosario of the Philippines, 23 pins outside of the third place position. Rebecca Larson of Sweden, 80 pins back Caroline Lagrange of Canada, 105 back, and Daria Kovalova, 132 pins back of 8th place. And so that is your update after game number 1, which is game 29 overall. So again, Malaysia, Colombia, USA, excuse me, are your top 3 on the women's side right now. On the men's side, your top 3 currently are Tobias Bording of Germany, Magnus Jansson Jr. of Sweden, and Chris Barnes of the United States. That is your top 3 players at this point on the men's side. Put the men's standings up for you first. The bottom of the screen. Cohen in the third frame leaves the 4-pin. He has fallen behind a little bit here in this match against B-Boy Rivera. Women's match so far, it's all Sweden. Spare double to start for Rebecca Larson. No strikes for Bulanova of Russia yet this game. All right, so we've got both divisions scores are scrolling at the bottom of your screen now. Women's standings coming on now. You're just tuning in. We're live at the 50th QubicaAMF Bowling World Cup from Wrocław, Poland. I'm Lucas Wiseman. This is game 2. Right now, our second game matches not terribly close, but there's a double by Bulanova of Russia. But she is down pretty big here halfway through this game. Down by 34 pins halfway through game 2. B-Boy Rivera with 3 strikes in a row. Started with a spare. He is up by 31 And just pushed it to 41 with a strike there. Another strike for Villanova, 3 in a row. She matches the strike put on the board by Larson, but still down big. Oran Cohen leaves the 10 pin on that shot as he continues to fall further behind. Can't find a way to strike on that right lane. See if Rebecca Larson can pop another strike here. She's got 5 in a row. Looks good. Spare 6-bagger for Rebecca Larson. She extends that lead. Here's another strike for the Russian. 3 frames to go in that match. And it's a 34-pin lead for Sweden. B-boy lucky that 7 went, leaves the 10. It was a little light, but he still has a 40-plus pin lead, or a 40-pin lead right now. And as Cohen steps up in the 6th. He knocks the 10 pin off the deck. Another strike for Larson. Standings and live scores available at QubicaAMF.com if we're not covering a match that you're interested in seeing. You'll want to check out QubicaAMF.com and you can watch the frame-by-frame scores for each match. This has the potential to be a very important game for Rebecca Larson if she can continue to strike out. She's right now outside of the number by about 50 pins. So this would be a significant game for her to make up some ground. Cohen finally gets a double, gets a strike on that right lane. Yet another strike for Larson. 8 strikes in a row for the Swede, and the Russian with 5 strikes in a row currently, but had an open early. So Rebecca Larson in good shape to win game 2. B-boy with a 3-6-10 here in the 7th. This one is getting closer and closer as we move along here these last couple of frames. Another strike for Cohen. Down to a 17-pin lead for B-Boy Rivera. Closing out the final frame here of game 2 on the women's pair. Russian can strike out for 256, but Rebecca Larson has already surpassed that without even making the spare. Larson with the spare in the 10th going to be at 268. Another strike for Cohen. Nails the gap even further, down by 7 now. 269 for Rebecca Larson this game. And she needed just about every bit of it, as Bulanova is going to shoot 256. 2 big games for 2 players who were outside of the top 3 coming into this game. A little bit of pressure here on B-Boy to throw a strike. Gets that 10 to gently go down for the double. And heading into the 10th frame, it is still a 17-pin lead for B-Boy Rivera. Bulanova gets 4 on the fill ball for 250. Larson wins 269 to 250 here this game. Very high scoring opening, or say second game for both players. Cohen with another strike, cuts it back to 7. His max score is 239. B-Boy's max score 256. So if B-Boy does not strike here, Cohen will have a chance to win the game. But Cohen would still need 1 more strike. So let's see what B-Boy does here. If B-Boy strikes, it's over, and he does. So B-Boy Rivera with 3 strikes in a row, and he is going to hold on to win this game. He'll be in the 240s at a minimum. Cohen with a 7-pin. So game 2 coming to a close. Game 3 will be starting momentarily. Give you an update on the standings as soon as we have it. Philippines going to defeat Israel here in game number 2. All right, a couple of great matches coming up here for game number 3. Brittany Hamilton against Lee Jane Sin of Malaysia, and Chris Barnes against Magnus Jansson of Sweden. So these are 4 of the top players in the tournament. So these are going to be some pretty good matchups this round. Have to wait for the updated standings to come out after game 2. I can tell you exactly where everybody stands. But we are about to be underway here with game number 3. USA versus Malaysia and USA versus Sweden here for this 3rd game. Barnes starts off with a 10-pin. So the men's standings, it's Still, Tobias Boarding in the lead from Germany. Magnus Janssen is second. B-Boy Rivera moves up to third. Chris Barnes is now fourth. Glenn Loader of Australia is in fifth. Still very close. Get the scroller updated for you on the bottom of the screen here in just a moment. Women's standings. Clara Guerrero in first. Lee Jane Sin of Malaysia second. Brittany Hamilton is third. So this is a matchup of 2 versus 3 on our women's match and 2 versus 4 on the men's match. All right, so our scrolling scores are updated at the bottom of your screen. Keep an eye on that as we watch game number 3. Let's get a matchup of 2 versus 3, Malaysia versus USA in the women's match, and a matchup of 2 versus 4, Sweden versus the USA in our men's match. A couple of important matches early here in round-robin match play. Game number 3 underway. Chris Barnes with a double to take a 10-pin lead on Magnus Janssen. Sin of Malaysia can take the lead here against Brittany by 11 as she trips out the 4-pin for the double. So an 11-pin lead for Malaysia in our women's match. If you're just tuning in, you're watching live coverage on Bowl TV of the 50th QubicaAMF Bowling World Cup. This is round robin match play, game number 3 in progress. Brittany Hamilton looking for a double and snaps out the 10-pin. Spare double for Brittany as she pulls back to within 1 pin. Chris Barnes looking for his 3rd consecutive strike, and instead it's a 10-pin. Barnes with the spared leading by 10. Malaysia leading USA by 11 in our women's match. as Brittany steps up in the 5th frame. Another strike for Hamilton. 3 in a row. Magnus Janssen with a nice looking strike. Four frames in the men's match, Chris Barnes up by 10. Lee Jane Sin of Malaysia with a ring 10 in the 5th, ends her string of strikes at 3. And she is pretty even with Brittany at this point. Brittany maybe up by a pin. As we close out the 5th frame and reach the halfway point of that game. So with that spare, we are tied now in the women's match with half a game to go. But Brittany working on the string of strikes. Another strike, she'll take a 10-pin lead. Magnus with a 3-6-10 in the 5th. Comes on a strike, so no loss in count on that shot. Brittany Hamilton to take the lead in the match, and she does. 4 strikes in a row for Brittany Hamilton. And she is now leading by 10. Chris Barnes with a strike in the 5th. Barnes still up by 10 as Magnus shoots the spare. Magnus missed a little left on that one. Feels lucky to have made it. So right now the United States up by 10 in both matches. Please do us a favor, post the link to the live stream on your Facebook and Twitter. Bowl.com/BowlTV. Bowl.com/BowlTV. That's where you should post the link. And make sure you get your friends to tune in. We'd like to get as many people watching as possible. Another strike for Brittany Hamilton. That is 5 in a row. She's up by 20 now. Barnes with a double, pushes lead to 20. Eighth frame for Hamilton. Carries the light hit for the strike, and that is her 6th in a row. Chris Barnes working on a double here. 7th frame. Got a handful of that one and gets the strike. 3 in a row for Chris Barnes. He pushes his lead to 30. Brittany Hamilton, 6 strikes in a row. That's twice as many as Chris Barnes right now. And Magnus leaves a wobbling 10 pin. So Brittany in control here against Lee Jane Sin of Malaysia, leaves the 10 pin. So a 20-pin lead for Brittany Hamilton in our women's match as they've got the 9th and the 10th to wrap up here in game number 3. Remember, we're bowling 8 games of round-robin match play. Last game is going to be a position round game. These are 2 key matchups. Women's match is 2 versus 3. Men's match is 2 versus 4. Right now, the players in the lower positions, which are the U.S. players, are getting the best of their opponents at this point. And remember, 30 bonus pins to be picked up for the winner. 15 if there's a tie, and 0 if you lose. So bonus pins incredibly important given how close the standings are. Those 30 bonus pins, when you've got 8 games, can add up pretty quickly. Chris Barnes getting ready to bowl on lane 16 with 3 strikes in a row. And he's going to back off. Chris Barnes up by 30. Tenth frame starting in our women's match. Brittany Hamilton going to start it off in the 10th. Brittany's max score now 247. If Lee Jane Sin strikes out, she can shoot 248. Barnes trying to get a little air under the ball to get it to stop hooking early, and that time he rings the 10 pin. Oh, and Hamilton misses the 7 pin in the 10th. 236. And now that means that Lee Jane Sin just needs the first hit in the 10th, and she's up right now. So a strike here to win the game. Potentially. She gets the strike. Still needs a few pins and count here. Needs 9 spare. And that would give her 237. Two frames left in our men's match. Chris Barnes still leading by 30. So Lee Jane Sin of Malaysia needs 9 spare to win the game by 1. And she gets a strike. It's a big comeback here for the Malaysian. And the 10th frame is Brittany Hamilton has an open in the 10th. And that may come back to cost Brittany significantly later on, this the loss of those 30 bonus pins. 248, 236 final score in Game 3. Malaysia takes the win against the United States. Men's match heading into the 10th frame. And it is a 28-pin lead for Chris Barnes. Heading into this final frame, Magnus Janssen can strike out for 218. And Chris Barnes would just need a mark in the 10th to shut him out with good count. Chris Barnes getting ready to bowl on lane 16, 10th frame. And Barnes needed a mark to shut him out, and look at that 10-pin fall very late. As he leaves the 4-7 in the 10th. So Magnus Janssen can strike out for 218. Still has a chance if Barnes were to miss the spare. Gets the first hit in the 10th. Magnus at this point trying to get all he can just to not hurt his total too much. Chris Barnes stepping up on lane 16 needs to make the spare to win the game. Oof. Makes it. Didn't look happy about it. Says nice frame. Still going to pick up the win. Just needs 5 pins to shut out Janssen. So it's going to be 207 this game for Magnus Janssen. Pretty low scoring game comparatively to what we have been seeing. As Chris Barnes throws his final shot, using this shot to maybe try to get lined up with something else. 224, Chris Barnes. And 207 from Magnus Janssen. So 224, 207, your final score here in Game 3. In our men's match, USA beats Sweden. And that's the whistle. We're getting ready to start Game 4 here in just a moment. So we're going to have Philippines against Colombia in Game 4. Lisa Del Rosario against Clara Guerrero. And our men's match is going to be Germany against Australia. Glenn Loader against Tobias Boarding. Women's standings, Lee Jameson of Malaysia leading. Clara Guerrero is in second place. She's 27 pins behind the lead. Brittany Hamilton is third. She trails Clara by 23 pins or so, and trails Lee Jameson by 53. That tells you how critical that loss was for Brittany. Maria Bulanova of Russia is in fourth place, and she is 82 pins behind Brittany. So a little bit of a gap there between third and fourth place. But still a lot of games left. 5 games left. Just starting game 4 right now. Colombia versus Philippines and Germany versus Australia. Standings are updated on the bottom of your screen. Scrolling there. And should be updated on the website if they're not already. And not quite yet. Should be any second. Men's side, Tobias Boarding still leading. 240 pins or so. Magnus Janssen in second place. Chris Barnes in third. Barnes about 63 pins behind Janssen. Fourth place is B-Boy Rivera, and he is 50 pins behind Barnes. Glenn Loader, who's on our featured pair this game, in fifth place, and he is 89 pins. Let's see, nope, 91 pins behind Chris Barnes. And Glenn is in fifth place currently. Going to have his hands full here this game with our top player in the tournament all week long, Tobias Boarding of Germany. Claire Guerrero and Lisa Del Rosario both start with the front 3, but Lisa the first to miss, leaving the 2-pin in the fourth. Tobias Boarding already with an early lead on Glenn Loader in our men's match. Tobias up by 10. Tuning in, you're watching live coverage of the 50th QubicaAMF Bowling World Cup here on Bowl TV. We are in Game 4 of 8 in our round-robin match play. Finals are coming up this afternoon, about an hour after we finish round-robin. Boarding after the ugly fifth frame gets a strike. Trails by 11. High-scoring match between Philippines and Colombia this game. Elisa Del Rosario with a strike for 3 in a row. Glenn Loader with a double. Glenn takes a bigger lead, up by 21 now after 6 frames, 4 to go. Well, there's another split on that right lane for Tobias Boarding, and I told you one bad game can really throw you off here in this format, especially with the high scores. So far today, the scores for Tobias have been pretty good, but I think this is going to be his lowest game thus far. Uses the opportunity to test a different ball. The lowest score that Tobias has thrown all week is 183, and that is in jeopardy this game. Clara with a double, Lisa with the 4-9 split. So Clara in control in that match now. So they still have a couple of frames to go. 34-pin lead for Australia in our men's match after 7 frames. Open frame for the Philippines as Lisa misses the 4-9 split in the 8th. And boarding back on track with a strike. Good on that lane. Got to see what happens on the right lane, though. It's had back-to-back splits on the right lane. Guerrero looking for 3 in a row. She can shoot 279 this game. She will have a chance heading into the 10th frame to put a 279 on the board. Clara stuffs a 4-pin in the 10th. Still going to be in the 250s this game. 257 if she picks it up and strikes. Best that Lisa Del Rosario can shoot is 243. Tobias back on track now with a double. And he can still save this game for 205 if he strikes out. We are wrapping up game 4 of 8, so approaching the halfway point here in the round of 8 competition. It's about 11 a.m. here in Wrocław, Poland. Finals for the women scheduled to start in about 2.5 hours. That is an estimated start time. High-scoring women's match. Clara Guerrero going to come out on the top end of that. I'll give you the final score once they throw their last shots here. And our men's match is wrapping up the 9th frame here. The max score for Tobias Boarding is 205. And the max score for Glenn Loader is 215. Glenn needs to make the 1-2-4 here. the 9th frame. And he chops it. Open frame in the 9th. And Tobias Boarding can strike out to shut out Glenn Loader by a pin. Final score in the women's match, 257 to 232. Claire Guerrero wins against Elisa Del Rosario of the Philippines. Boarding with 3 strikes in a row. Big save this game. Had a couple of opens. Nasty splits in the 5th and the 7th, but has come back nicely. And he will avoid having his lowest game of the tournament. And that was a shot by Glenn Loader that almost showed you that he knew he was going to lose this game, although still had a chance to win it. 10-pin leave. So Boarding for just the 3rd time this week is going to be under 200. He's going to be at 194 with the spare. And guess what? Glenn Loader can still shoot 194. So we could have a tie this game. And Aussie makes the spare in the 10th. Tobias Boarding 194 this game. And Glenn Loader can strike on the last ball for 194 to earn 15 bonus pins for the tie. Just waiting for Game 5 to get started here in just a moment. Waiting for one more match to finish up down on the low end. And then we'll get started with Game 5. It's going to be Malaysia versus Canada on our women's match. 13 and 14. And Still waiting to see who we're going to have on 15 and 16. So we had a tie, 194-194 in our men's match. And Clara Guerrero defeated Lisa Del Rosario with a couple of big scores in our women's match last round. And just waiting for the next game to start. Whistle just blew, so that means they're all done and should get started here any second now. Looks like Columbia on the men's side.
When you look at my scent box, it looks like they've... Now I sent another one that said it looks like it was attached, and because I put a message in and I said, I hate window
Okay, so game number 5, it's going to be Malaysia versus Canada and Sweden versus Colombia in our 2 featured matches here, as we are now at the halfway point of the round-robin match play. Women's side, Clara Guerrero moves into the lead. And she is 70 pins ahead of Lee Jane Sin of Malaysia. Brittany Hamilton is in 3rd place. And Brittany is about 90 pins out of 1st. Maria Bulanova of Russia is 4th, just 16 pins behind 3rd place. Caroline Lagrange of Canada is 5th, and she is 85 pins out of 3rd place. Standings are updated, scrolling on the bottom of your screen after 4 games. take a look at the results. And I can tell you on the men's side, Tobias Boarding is still leading. He's leading by 234 pins. Chris Barnes is second. Magnus Jonsson of Sweden is third, but just by a couple of pins. B-Boy Rivera of the Philippines is fourth, and he is almost 100 pins back third. Misha Kalika of the Ukraine is now in fifth place, but 130 pins or so outside of third place. We are now in the back half of this block of 8 games, game number 5. So we'll have games 5, 6, and 7, and at that point everybody will have bowled all of the other opponents in their division, and we will have a brief break while they tally the scores for the position round, which will be game 8. And after the position round, we'll know the final standings, and at that point we will know who the top 3 are for the men and the top 3 for the women who have advanced into the final round this afternoon. We will be crowning our champions this afternoon here live on Bowl TV. So Magnus Jonsson, a little bit of a lucky break there for the front 3. Caroline had the front 3, leaves the 10. She's got a really 10-pin lead in that match. Magnus' string comes to an end with a 10-pin. If you're just tuning in, you're watching live coverage here on Bowl TV of the 50th QubicaAMF Bowling World Cup. We are in Game 5 of 8 in our round-robin match play. So we are quickly heading toward a close here in the round-robin. Only 3.5 games to go, and we will know our finalists for the championship round. And probably in less than an hour and a half, maybe an hour and a half, I would guess. Manuel Otolora with another strike, 5 in a row for him. Give you an update on the standings at the halfway point here. Full update. On the women's side, it's Clara Guerrero of Colombia in the lead by 70 pins over Lee Jainson of Malaysia. Brittany Hamilton of the United States is in third place, 89 pins off the lead. Maria Bulanova of Russia, 16 pins behind third place. Russian in fourth. Caroline Lagrange of Canada in fifth place, 86 pins behind third. Rebecca Larson of Sweden in sixth, and she is 108 pins behind third place. Lisa Del Rosario of the Philippines is 137 pins behind, and Daria Kovalova of the Ukraine, 142 pins outside of third place. So really, with 4 games to go, it's still open for anybody to make the finals on the women's side, depending on how it plays out with 30 bonus pins. It makes it much more likely that you can overcome a big deficit. On the men's side, things a little bit more defined than the women's side. Tobias Boarding leading by 234 pins over Chris Barnes. The German has been leading throughout the tournament. Barnes in second place. Magnus Jansson of Sweden in third, but just 2 pins behind Chris. Biboy Rivera of the Philippines is in fourth place, 94 pins away from third, so that's a pretty good gap. Misha Kalika of the Ukraine, 124 pins behind third. Glenn Loader of Australia, 157 pins back. Ovran Cohen of Israel, 185 pins behind the lead, or behind third, I should say. And Manuel Otolora of Colombia is 228 pins behind third place. Certainly anything possible in these last few games. If, for example, Manuel Otolora continues to strike as he is now with 6 in a row after starting with a spare. 4 games, he could certainly make a run at it. Tough to make up 228 pins in just 4 games, but with the 30 bonus pins, you can pick up 120 of that just in bonus. All right, so there's your update at the halfway point. You can see the standings scrolling at the bottom of your screen, or go to QubicaAMF.com for the latest results and the live scoring. After 7 frames in our women's match, Malaysia with an 11-pin lead on Canada. And in our men's match, Manuel Otolora cannot be stopped this game. 7 strikes in a row for the Colombian, as he is in fuego. Looks like he's going to pick up a win against Magnus Jansson this game. Magnus, 3 spares. bit frustrated on that last shot. And I believe I said that Malaysia was leading Canada. I was wrong. It's actually Canada leading Malaysia by 10 pins. 6-10 lead for Otalora in the 9th. It's still up by 39 with the spare. Magnus blasts a 7-pin. Well, we just saw Tobias Morting struggle a bit on our featured pairs, and he just shot 278 down on lanes 19 and 20. I think it's a certainty that Tobias Morting will make the finals, probably as the top seed. Just a matter of who's going to be second and who's going to be third. Closing out Game 5, Otalora bowling a big game. Can get to 268 with one more strike. Magnus Janssen looking at a max of 228 with a couple of more strikes. Close match, and our women's match. Canada can strike out for 238, and Malaysia can strike out for 238. They both have struck on the first shot in the 10th. Caroline with a 6 count, second shot in the 10th. .267 for Manuel Otoloro. Picks up the win. By more than 40 pins. Big strike for the Malaysian. She will take the win here in Game 5. Our men's final 267 and 226. Manuel Otoloro wins the match. Game number 6 should be starting in just a couple of minutes. Kicks out the 7-pin for the strike, 238 for Malaysia. Canada max 228 if she can convert the 36910. .238-224 final score in our women's match. And game 6 going to be starting in just a minute. Okay, game number 6 getting started. Sweden versus Philippines, Israel versus Australia on the featured pairs this game. All right, scores are updated on the bottom of your screen now. So we are moving along here, game number 6. Just 2 more games to go after this game ends in the round-robin match play portion of the World Cup. Tobias Warding still leading the men's division by 270 pins or so. Magnus Jonsson is second. Chris Barnes is third. Misha Kalika has moved up to 4th place and is only 49 pins behind Marnes for the last spot of the finals. Women's standings, give you an update here on those. Claire Guerrero in first place by 110 pins. Lee Jane Sin of Malaysia is second. Brittany Hamilton third. Maria Bulanova of Russia is fourth, 57 pins behind Brittany. Caroline Lagrange of Canada is 77 pins behind third. Daria Kovalova of the Ukraine is 92 pins back. Lisa Del Rosario 105, and Rebecca Larson 111. On the men's side, we went through the top 4 already. Misha Kalika 19 pins behind third. B-Boy Rivera 41, Glenn Loader 99, Otolora 134, and Oran Cohen of Israel is 198 pins behind third place with 3 games left. Rebecca Larson with the front 5 of this game. Lisa Del Rosario double spare strike. As they get ready to close out the 5th frame in that match. Couple of open frames in a row for Glenn Loader. That one sails way right, misses the head pin. So all 4 of these players currently outside of the cut number and would would need really big games to make it into the finals. They would need 3 big games here at the end to have a chance to make the top 3. Remember, Game 8 is position round, so we'll have the 1 versus 2 matches in both the men and the women's division. We're about a game and a half away from that, though. There'll be a little bit of a brief break between Game 6 and 7 as they tally up the scores for the position round. Get everything verified and finalized. Should happen pretty fast, though. .31 lead for Larson going into the last 2 frames in our women's match. Big lead for Cohen in the men's match, up by 49 after 6 frames. Rebecca Larson still has hopes of making it into the top 3. She can shoot 279 this game, which would probably go a long way toward helping the cause. Kind of feel the intensity level ratcheting up a little bit here at this stage of the competition. People are starting to get even more intense than they were. And the pressure is starting to build considerably here in the closing stages of round-robin match play. We've only got 2 games to go after this one, so we'll have starting to get a pretty good idea of who is going to make the finals after Game 6 and 7, and then Of course, we'll know for sure after game 8. Rebecca Larson's going to win the game easily against Lisa Del Rosario, and a 279 here puts her back in the mix with 2 games to go. Certainly is going to move up in the standings. It's a matter of does she have enough games left to get to the top 3. Also depends on what the players ahead of her do. If they put up some big numbers, then it won't matter what Rebecca does, because she is, at this moment, more than 100 pins back. Brittany Hamilton, for example, shooting 259 if she strikes out this game. So even if Rebecca shoots 279, she only picks up 20 pins on Brittany. So 279 for Rebecca Larson, a big game. Lisa Del Rosario, 202. Game 7 will get started a few minutes after we finish here with Game 6. Should be getting started relatively quickly here. We've got one more frame to go on our men's pair. See at least one men's pair that's got 3 frames left, so difficult game for Glenn Loader of Australia. 141. Oran Cohen of Israel can max at 217 here as we wrap up this game. So Brittany Hamilton got a double in the 10th. She's going to be at 259 and pick up the win against Kovalova of Ukraine, it looks like. And that is bad news for Rebecca Larson. Rebecca was hoping to catch Brittany. Shot 279 that game, but is only going to gain 20 pins. And still be down by more than 80 going into the last two games. Brittany got 7 on the fill, so looks like Kovalova can actually tie her, which would steal 15 pins away from Brittany's total in this sixth game. That's off camera, though. So we'll get an update on the standings here in just a moment. Wrapping up game number 6, and game 7 will be starting in just a couple of minutes.
Nie, tam już. A nie, dobra, tam właśnie skończyliście.
All right, game 7 getting started here. We've got Canada versus Russia and Colombia versus Philippines in this game. We've got just 2 games left, game 7 and game 8, until we know our top 3 for the finals this afternoon. Standings are updated at the bottom of your screen. All right, so going into the last 2 games here on the women's side, Clara Guerrero leading by 158 pins. Lee Jane Sin of Malaysia is second. Brittany Hamilton is third. There is now a 76-pin gap between third and fourth. Maria Bulanova of Russia, 76 pins behind third. Rebecca Larson, she had that big game last time, and she is now 88 pins behind third place. Brittany Hamilton, Daria Kovalova, who just lost to Brittany Hamilton by 1 pin, is 123 pins behind third place. So that was a big swing for Daria that game. The fact that she lost to Brittany. She would have been a little bit closer if she'd have gotten that tie with a strike on her last ball, but she got 9. Caroline Lagrange is 130 pins behind third place, and Lisa Del Rosario is 189 pins back with 2 games to go. The men's side is pretty close, a lot closer than the women's side. Tobias Boarding, he is leading by a lot of pins, let's just say. About 200 and actually more than 300 pins now, 340 pins or so. Tobias Boarding is leading by. Misha Kalika of the Ukraine is now second, so he's come all the way up from 8th to 2nd today. And he is 25 pins ahead of Magnus Jansson Jr. of Sweden, who's in third place. Chris Barnes of the United States has dropped out of the top 3 and into fourth place, 19 pins back. B-Boy Rivera is 22 pins back, and B-Boy on our featured pairs this game. Manuel Otalora is 166 pins out of third. Ovran Cohen of Israel, 185 pins back, and Glenn Loader of Australia, 192 pins back with 2 games to go. So our matchup on 13 and 14 is between the 7th and 8th place positions in the women's division right now. And so unless they, oh, I'm sorry, it's between the 4th and 7th place. So Bulanova needs a big game here to have a chance to really make a run at that number 3 spot in the position round game next. It's important for her to bowl a big game to stay ahead of Rebecca Larson so that she can have a chance to bowl the number 3 position with an opportunity to make it into the finals. 30 pins bonus each game, so anything is possible in that position round. B-Boy with a double, trailing by 10 against Manuel Otalora. This is a matchup of number 5 versus number 6 currently. B-Boy with the more realistic chance of making it into the finals, only 22 pins behind third place. So that is how we're set up for this 7th game. One more game to come after this one ends. B-Boy Rivera trying to put a big game up to slide into the top 3. He's down 22 right now. And snaps the 10 pin out from the bottom of the pin for a 3-bagger. So he takes the lead by 1 pin in the match against Manuel Otalora. Certainly looks like Tobias Boarding of Germany and Claire Guerrero of Colombia are going to make it into the finals for sure, and most likely as the top seed in their respective divisions. But the number 2 and the number 3 spots in the finals are not yet determined in either division for sure. It's still very close as we are just about done with round robin match play. There's just one game to go after this one. Our women's finals scheduled to start in about 90 minutes. And our men's finals will start right after that. Wow, so a big split for B-Boy in the 5th. Bad times for that. Sitting outside of the cut number. B-Boy desperately needs a win here and a pretty decent game to try to put himself in position for the position round. Half a game away from our very important position round. There will be a brief delay while they tally the scores for the position round, but it shouldn't take too long. Just a couple of frames to go here, game 7. Position round game coming up next. I'll find out who our number 2 and number 3 finalists are for the finals this afternoon. We already know that Tobias Boarding and Claire Guerrero are going to be the top seeds in the finals. It's just a matter of who is second and who is third. I mean, it's not out of the question that Lee Jane Sin of Malaysia could catch Claire Guerrero, but I think it's unlikely. Claire is going to shoot 234 this game. She's going to lose to Lee Jane Sin, who's going to shoot, looks like a max score of 279. So she'll pick up some ground on her this game, down 158 pins. So it's still possible that Lee Jane Sin could get the top seed. Just have to wait and see. Malaysian bowling a great game here in game 7 and they just happen to be bowling each other, and they're going to bowl each other again in the last match, it looks like, unless Brittany Hamilton were somehow to go around one of them, but I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah, and it looks like Brittany is going to shoot in the 240s this game, and that won't be enough to jump into second place. The top 3 on the women's side might be pretty much set before the position round game. Villanova misses the single pin in the 8th, hurts her. She was the one in 4th place coming into this game. Villanova leads in this match by 10. Manuel Otalora leads in the men's match by 11. So it looks like Manuel Otalora is going to win if he makes the spare here. And he does, so Colombia going to get the win here against the Philippines, which is a big loss for B-Boy. And B-Boy, I think, is going to be left behind here. Some of the players above him bowling really big games, and he is probably going to be a little bit too far behind going into the last game to have a chance to make the finals. Ten 199. Colombia defeats Philippines in our men's match. And our women's match in the 10th frame now. And it looks like Russia will beat Canada in this match. .235 for Russia, 213 for Canada as Game 7 comes to a close, and position round coming up next. Here on Bowl TV, we'll have the number 1 versus number 2 matches for both the men and the women in Game 8, so stand by. That'll be coming up in just a couple of minutes.
No supieron muy bien.
Gegen mich gewinnt, kann er weiter werden.
Ja, aber ich bin scheide.
Everybody needs to. Only you don't need. No, I think maybe 4 players need. Yes? Yes, it's second, third, fourth, and fifth, actually. Philippines, USA, Sweden, Ukraine. I think. Estou zapatos, sim.
So the last game was Hawaii from
Igual esto creo que demora un poco.
Вот смотри, мы вторые, швед Барнс. Мы выиграем у шведа. Или нет? Не может так много. Не может. Нет, там когда же? Они бегают. 300.
400. 400.
I will take 100 from yours. Don't damage her. Anything. Даша какая-то, ничего интересного. Они листья, даже принести надо или нет? Will be some time or will play now? Play now?
We will play now, yes. Why will we? I only want to play 3 games.
Что там, какие вы?
After this game.
Сколько отрыв большой?
Вот, третьего, да.
Ну сколько, да? 100? Больше 100. 260, 270, там может, какая-то шара.
Иногда жизнь выкидывает такие, честно.
Я ебашу туда же в эпоху выбивать. Туда пиздяшь. Давай, я настраиваюсь, хуярим, блядь.
You guys ready? Ready? Yeah.
All right, so our position round is now underway. Colombia versus Malaysia, and Germany against Ukraine. I'll give you the rundown here in just a moment as to what the scenarios are. right, so Clara Guerrero leads by 85 pins on Lee Jane Sin. So that means the Malaysian needs to beat Clara by 46 pins this game to take the top spot. Brittany Hamilton is in third. She's 55 pins behind Malaysia. Fourth place is Maria Bulanova of Russia, 77 pins behind third. And fifth place is Rebecca Larson of Sweden, but she's 138 pins back, so that's unlikely to happen. On the men's side, you've got Tobias Bording, who's 290 pins ahead of Misha Kalika in this match, so it's a non-factor. Tobias is going to be your top seed. Doesn't matter what he shoots this game, but Misha is it's very close between second, third, and fourth. Ukraine, 11 pins ahead of third. Magnus Jansson of Sweden is third. Chris Barnes is 34 pins behind in fourth place. So really you've got 3 guys bowling, and there's 2 spots up for grabs. Essentially, Chris Barnes needs to beat Magnus Jansson by 5 pins this game to make it into the finals. So we'll keep you updated the best we can on all the matches that have significance. Obviously, we can't show them all to you. We can only show you the 1 versus 2 matches, but we will let you know what the update is on the other matches, and you can follow it on the live scoring at QubicaAMF.com. Tell Lori I need RSS for the map. RSS for the All right, so keep you updated here. Kalika with a split in the third. Magnus Jansson has started spare. Chris Barnes with a double. So as of right now, Chris Barnes has enough to go ahead, but still have a lot of frames to go here. So again, this is our final game of the round robin match play. Finals will be coming up. Women's finals scheduled to start in about an hour. Standings are now scrolling at the bottom of your screen. This game does not matter for Tobias Bording, but it's incredibly important for Misha Kalika of the Ukraine. He is just 45 pins ahead of Chris Barnes, who's in fourth place, and he's just 11 pins ahead of Magnus Jansson, who is in third place. So it's very important for Misha to pick up the win in this match against Tobias Bording. Bording so far ahead that he will be the top seed no matter what. In the women's match, Colombia versus Malaysia. Malaysia needs to beat Colombia by, let's see here, 46 pins? 56 pins. Excuse me. Yeah, 56 pins, but Clara is looking really strong here. Strike, spare, triple to start, so it looks like Clara is going to be your top seed on the women's side, and I believe that the Malaysian will advance as well. On the women's side, still not completely decided. Maria Bulanova of Russia needs to defeat Brittany Hamilton by 48 pins. And Bulanova has started with the front 5 this game. So we've got a lot going on here. We'll try to keep you updated best we can. Finals start in approximately 1 hour. Bowl.com/BowlTV is where you'll be able to find the finals. Magnus Janssen having a nightmare game to start here. Spare, open strike down on 7 and 8 against Chris Barnes. Chris Barnes has the front 4. Another strike for Clara Guerrero. She's on her way to the top seed for the finals this afternoon. Big shot here for Kalika. Another strike, 3 in a row. Lots of intensity for Misha Kalika right now, as this is a huge match for Misha. Tobias Sporting. German looking for his 3rd consecutive strike and does not get it. It's a split. And that'll make Misha very happy. Bulanova of Russia just threw a split on the front 6 against Brittany Hamilton, who just tossed a double. So Brittany's still in good position to advance to the finals. We know that Colombia and Malaysia are going to advance on the women's side. Most likely 1st and 2nd. Although that's not completely decided yet, but it is likely. On the men's side, Chris Barnes has the front 5 against Magnus Janssen this game. And it's starting to look like it's going to be the winner of that match who advances. Barnes needs to defeat Janssen by 5 pins to move on into the finals. And right now, Barnes has the front 6. And he is ahead by 46 pins. It's 18-pin lead for Misha Kalika right now. He can push that to 28 here against Tobias Sporting. Gets the strike. That is 4 in a row for Misha Kalika. Still settling out our top 3 for the men and the women here in this final game. Clara Guerrero is going to be your top seed on the women's side. Tobias Sporting will be your top seed on the men's side. And that is certain. Chris Barnes had the front 6. He just got an 8 count in the 7th frame. Meanwhile, Magnus Janssen has started to bring it on with 3 strikes in a row. Going into the 10th frame between Brittany Hamilton and Bulanova of Russia. Bulanova can strike out for 264. Hamilton can strike out for 238. That would be enough for Brittany to still advance, because Bulanova needs to beat her by 48 pins. So it is going to come down to the 10th frame to find out for sure. There's a big shot coming up here for Misha Kalika. He'll let out a big scream, I bet, if he strikes again here in the 8th. Working on 4 strikes in a row.
Yes!
Told you. 5 in a row for the Ukrainian, as he is ahead in this match by 28 pins. Chris Barnes up by 45 on Magnus Janssen with 3 frames to go. He needs to win by 5. I think Brittany Hamilton may have just locked up her spot. She just struck first shot in the 10th. That'll get her in the 220s. She'll go 227 if she goes 9 spare. Which would be enough, I think, to shut out the Russian by a pin. But it's still close. Brittany's going to lose the game. But will she have enough to hold on? And Brittany Hamilton will advance as the number 3 seed into the women's final. So your women's final is going to be Colombia, Malaysia, and the United States. And your men's final is starting to shape up as Germany, Ukraine, and as of right now, the United States, but that's not decided. Still have a couple of frames to go here. Brittany Hamilton is going to lose 251 to 227, but that is only a difference of 24 pins, which means Brittany is in. Now Misha Kalika with a big shot here in the 9th frame. Working on 5 in a row. Trying to secure his spot in the finals. Another strike. That is 6 in a row for Kalika. And it looks like he is going to be in. Chris Barnes, front 6, 8 spare double. Magnus Janssen just left a single pin in the 9th. It looks likely that Chris Barnes will advance. We know for sure that our women's finals is going to be Colombia, Malaysia, USA. So Malaysia versus USA in the first match, the winner versus Colombia. On the men's side, Tobias Bording is going to be your top seed. And it looks like it's going to be Misha Kalika and Chris Barnes in the opening match of the men's finals. Misha with a 2-8 and the 10th. It's going to put him at a max of 242 this game. Tobias Boarding's final shot, 215 for him. All right, so your women's final is Colombia, Malaysia, USA. Your men's final is going to be Germany, Ukraine, and USA. Excuse me. So that's going to be your finalists coming up. That's unofficial, of course, but feeling pretty good. Misha misses the spare for 230. And that is going to be the end of our position round here. Once again, make sure you join us in about an hour for the start of the women's finals here on Bowl TV. We'll put out an alert on the World Cup Facebook and Twitter accounts, as well as the USBC Twitter and Facebook accounts. And you can follow me on Twitter at Lucas_Wiseman. I'll also tweet out when we get started at Lucas_Wiseman. So we'll be back at bowl.com/bowltv, bowl.com/bowltv with the start of the women's finals in about an hour.
I don't know, I was not ready for very fast broken. Playing with the world pushing right too much, so that's why I haven't thought because I have together I have the qualification.
Players qualifying in the top 3, please stay in the bowler's area. If you qualified in the top 3, please stay in the bowler's area.
Sie haben gesagt, wir sollen erstmal hier bleiben.
Ladies and gentlemen,
And here's the maybe
start the semifinal round at 1:30, so in approximately 30 minutes. Players 1, 2, 3, please.
so our final standings in the women's are official now. Clara Guerrero, number 1. Lee Jane Sin of Malaysia, number 2. Brittany Hamilton, number 3. That is now official. Still waiting on the official men's standings to come in. So stand by for the official men's standings. And the official men's final standings: Tobias Boarding of Germany, number 1. Misha Kalika of the Ukraine, number 2. Chris Barnes of the United States, number 3, just like we thought. So we'll be back at about 1:30, which is in about 45 to 50 minutes, with the start of the women's finals here on Bowl TV.
Well done.